Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacey. You're joining us for our Leaders and Legends segment. And our guest is Mitzi Weinman, founder of TimeFinder and author of It's About Time, Transforming Chaos into Calm, A to Z. Welcome to the show, Mitzi.
Thank you for having me on.
I want to dig a little deeper into Mitzi's background because she's pretty fascinating. She is the founder of TimeFinder, as you said, and TimeFinder offers approaches to personal productivity. As a coach, workshop leader, professional speaker, and author, she helps people develop good habits and techniques to reduce stress, which can result from procrastinating, feeling disorganized and overwhelmed, and rushing to get things done at work and or at home. That sounds familiar to me. Many of Mitzi's tips and techniques appear regularly in all kinds of publications and on TV, including U.S. News and World Report, Money Magazine, Forbes, Fox 25 News, Martha Stewart Living, Radio, Making a Living with Maggie on Sirius and XM, Investors Business Daily, Boston Business Journal, Women's Day, you name it. Some of her clients include New Balance athletic shoes, Reebok, WGBH, LoJack, Boston University School of Medicine. She earned her bachelor's degree from the Newhouse School of Public Communications at Syracuse University, and she is the author of It's About Time, Transforming Chaos into Calm, A to Z, and lives in Needham with her husband, son, and dog. So we have lots of questions for you. Bob and I were talking before we had you on, saying of all the people that we've had on our program, this is probably the one we need the most personally.
Very true.
So tell us about your transformation from procrastinator and disorganization to the life you have today.
Well, it was kind of an interesting time growing up. My father put a sign on my bedroom door that read, "Cleanliness is next to godliness. Welcome to the gates of hell."
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had quite a sense of humor. And the thing is that I was really pretty disorganized at home. I was they call me a slob. And I also was a huge procrastinator. I always put things off till the last minute, which caused an awful lot of stress. I was not ready or prepared when I went into my classes, and the anxiety just ensued. And then when I went off to school, off to college, I realized that I needed to make a change because it was really not healthy, the way I was approaching my schoolwork. And I decided to just create better habits. And once I did that, I was able to just think through what I needed to get done, and I was able to get things done when they needed to be done and not waiting until the last minute. And so by changing the habits and thinking things through and planning, it made such a tremendous amount of difference that when I went, I worked for a lot of different companies, but then ventured out on my own, created TimeFinder with the hope of helping people feel that kind of sense of relief that they have more control over their day and they can get those things done. And the thing is that one of the things I say to anybody I talk to, because they think what I do is time management, is that you can't manage time. You can't slow it down, you can't speed it up, and you can't stop it. So don't try to manage something you can't. Think about managing yourself and how you approach situations that come up. How do you react to things? How do you not react to something, which is a reaction actually, and then think about it before you kind of just get sucked in to some chaos or things that are going on at work, the distractions, the interruptions, and saying, oh, sure, I can stop what I'm doing and do something else, and how that impacts the rest of your day or the rest of your week even.
Right. So you talk about that it's just as simple as changing habits, but changing habits can be really difficult to do. Are there any super easy little things that our listeners could do so that right off starting today, they're taking a little bit more control of their time?
Sure. So one of the simplest things to do, and I say simple, and it may not be seemingly simple, but one of the things that somebody can do is to plan at the end of the day. Many times people will come into work and start to look around and see what they need to do, and then kind of look at the piles and look at the sticky things and kind of have a lot of stuff up in their head, which causes a lot of stress. But if you take 5 minutes or less at the end of each day and just think about what you've accomplished, and then look at the next day and look even ahead and anticipate things that are coming up, and start putting those tasks into either it's Outlook or Google Calendar or into a paper planner. But think about what you need to do the next day, because you just lived your day. So if you start to plan at the end of the day, it makes a tremendous amount of difference, because when you come in the next day, you're ready to go. Even if you've had some emails that you need to address, you've got a plan. You know what you need to start to accomplish. You start thinking about the priorities and getting to those things first. So that's the second thing, is to work from higher priority to lower priority throughout your day, thinking about what is the most important thing you need to do and doing it earlier in your day, or doing the thing you're going to dread the most earlier in your day so that it's gone and it doesn't drain you of your energy. So those are two big things. Plan at the end of the day and start your day off doing the higher priority items earlier in your day. So when you're working from higher priority to lower priority, firstly, it means that you're going to have less competing demands later in your day. And secondly, if you're working on lower priorities later in your day, it makes it easier to stop working and to go home at the end of the day. But if you start working on your priority that you've been putting off the whole day, and you start working on it, let's say at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it makes it really hard to stop.
Right.
And what we want to be able to do is stop and go home.
So do you have any advice? I think a lot of us have so many things, so many people that put demands on us throughout the day. So we're providing for our kids and our employees and our family members. Do you have any advice for shaving off just a piece of each day that is for you?
Well, one of the things to do for yourself, it may not be every day, but it's really to decide what it is that you want to do. You know, people talk about work-life balance, and I don't think there is such a thing. I don't think there's time management. I don't think there's work-life balance. I think what people are really looking for is quality time, time to do things that they want to do for themselves, or to spend time with certain people, with friends, with family, with their kids. And one of the things that's really helpful to do is to start to determine what those things are that you want to do, and start looking at your calendar and start looking at where you can carve out time to do those things. You know, if it's to just, you know, if it's, I don't want to even say to just, if it's reading a magazine or reading a book, you can block out, look at ways to block out even 15 minutes or a half an hour for that activity. If you want to go back to school and take a class, look at when you might be able to do that, what it's going to take to do that, and plan through that. But also start to communicate with the folks around you, your family, or people who are going to be impacted by something as big as going back to school, or something as simple as maybe going shopping or going to the library and spending an hour or two there. But you really have to do a lot of calendar management. It's really looking at your calendar, seeing where you've got time to be able to just block that time out, be specific with the time when you block it out with what you want to do with it, and then communicate to people who are going to be impacted by it. But you have to decide what it is that you want to do. And so many times people don't know what that might even be.
Absolutely. Now, one piece that I know you talk about in your book, which is really interesting to me, I have a 6-year-old who is already overly scheduled in her activities. You have something you call decaf parenting. What is that all about?
Decaf parenting is really for parents to take a step back and say, you know what, what's working and what's not? Do we need to be in so many activities, or, you know, our kids being in so many activities, or can we kind of pull back a little bit and say, you know, what would be one activity per season that our child can be in? I remember have a friend whose son was in like 5 activities, you know, in the fall. And it's, you know, having to carpool and run to all of these activities. the poor child was tired when it came time to doing homework. And so decaf parenting is really saying, I'm going to buck the trend of having to be always busy and have that be sort of like a, like the stature of I'm always busy, I'm always running around, and saying, no, I don't want to be busy, and I don't want to always be running around with my kids, and I don't want them always busy. I want them to be able to relax. I want them to be able to just be and even be home. They don't have to be always doing something and saying, I'm stopping that.
Yes.
And you know what? It's okay.
So do you have any advice for parents, speaking of children, on how we can help our kids be better organized?
So one of the things that parents can do to help their kids be better organized is to talk to them and also stay in touch. Many teachers now have, as we went back to parent school night last night, their websites have what the homework is and everything. But it's really to talk to your kids and say, what do you have coming up? Let's look at what schoolwork you have. And starting to get them, even at an early age, to put it in some sort of a planner. Many schools, I won't say most, but many schools have, or school districts have planners that the parents can buy, or for like $5 or $10, and they put their homework assignments in. And so starting to do that is really helpful for the kids, and to have parents discuss what's going on. If they've got projects, start asking your kids, like, what are you going to need to do to get this project completed? And start looking at how to create little steps to get that project done. Because if it's a science project, or if it's a reading project, or something, they probably have to go to the library. They have to choose a book. They have to decide when they're going to read the different chapters, depending on how long the book is, and obviously what age level the child is. Or you might have to go to a hardware store or a Home Depot or something for a science project, and start planning and thinking about what are the small tasks that are going to lead up to the completion of whatever that project is. But the other thing is, with regard to kids and their homework, is to start looking at what will impact their ability to do their homework. If they're in piano lessons 3 times a week, or dance or gymnastics or sports, how is that going to impact when they've got a test coming up? And looking at and suggesting and asking them, let's see where you can block out some time to do some of the studying that you're going to need to do, because you're going to be at a weekend lacrosse tournament, or you're going to be in gymnastics class the night before, from 7 to 8, when you've got a test the next day. And start really anticipating and thinking those things through and talking to your kids about it.
Right. And I think a lot of it is that as parents, we're so overly scheduled. I know for me, at the beginning of this year, I was on 8 or 9 charitable boards. And what I noticed is I was on all these boards because I'm terrible at saying no. So if somebody asked me to be on one, I would say yes. However, it got to a point where I was ineffective on all of them. So I would show up at a meeting, I'd listen, and then I'd leave the meeting and do nothing until the next meeting. So I got rid of all except for 2 of the boards, the ones I was most passionate about, and now I'm actually effective on those 2 boards. Do you have any advice for helping people learn how to say no?
So that's one of the chapters in my book, The A to Z. Chapter N is no, chapter Y is yes, because I think they're both really important words to be able to say. And so when you're going to think about saying no, firstly, think about it before you say yes or no, and find out what the commitment level is for what you're being asked to do. And then let the person know that you need to think about it, and really weigh whether it's something that you're going to want to do, or if you say, and ask yourself, like, if I say yes to this, am I going to regret this? Am I going to be kind of saying, oh my gosh, why did I say I would do this? Or are you saying yes to something and saying, wow, this is really great, like you did. You chose 2 things you're passionate about. Also, think about why you're saying, why you want to do something, or why you don't want to do something. One of the things is, if you're going to say no to somebody, there are kind of nice ways to be able to do it. I say positive, what I call a positive no. One is to let somebody know that you're available to help out in a small way on some projects, and feel free to get back to you. Another way is to offer, that somebody else might be better, and maybe suggest somebody else that could help them out.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you don't want to say to somebody is, I'm just too busy. I just can't do this.
Exactly.
Because when you say that to somebody, they're saying, well, I'm busy too.
Right.
And it just kind of creates, it's not a really nice thing to
Absolutely.
say. So you think about how you're actually going to say no to somebody, but you can say it in a positive way with, this sounds like a great opportunity. I appreciate it. This isn't really the right time for me right now, but I hope you'll get back to me, or I can help out with something else.
Wow. All great advice. We have with us Mitzi Weinman from TimeFinder. Mitzi, where can people find out more about you if they're interested in bringing you in for coaching or a workshop or to speak at an event? And where can people buy your book?
So people can find out about more about me on my website, which is TimeFinder.net. It's TimeFinder.net. And if they I have a newsletter. If they sign up for it, they're going to get like 19 stress busters sent to them right away. You can buy my book from my website, which would actually, there's a link to take you to Amazon, but you can buy it on Amazon.com, and it's hard copy, a paperback, as well as it's a Kindle version. It's available as well. So on Amazon.com, or to go to TimeFinder.net.
Awesome. Great stuff. It was the best use of 17 minutes of our time today. So thank you.
Thank you, Mitzi.
Thank you so much.
That's all for this edition of Get Real. Make sure you join us again next weekend for more.